it's me, Renee. I'm back. And yeah, so right now it's August. And I talked a bit about this before, decided to do just a video about it. I don't feel I have. No, I don't feel I have. And if I have, oops. But yeah, this is my 5-star read so far this year. Or, in other words, reads I've loved that I read this year. So the rules for this video is I have not included rereads, but I have included some books that did not come out this year but I read this year. So yeah, that's how this video works really. Some of the books I read from library, so I don't own them, so I'm just gonna talk about them. And some I own, so yeah, I'm gonna show you the ones that I have, and then yeah. So first we have, and yeah, as usual, there's not really a rhyme or reason to it. I'm just going to start with a book. First we have Don't Hate Your Player by Alexis Ned. So this one came out in 2021, I want to say, a few years ago. It came out in 2021, yes. So it's a YA book. It's based around the gamer community. I'm not a gamer myself. Well, I like board games, but I'm not really like a computer game person. But I'm nerdy, so I can get into like the nerdy part of this book. It's a dual point of view, where one of the main characters or one of the point of views is Latinx African American person, girl, and she started gaming when she was very young, and then in the beginning she kind of gamed like just kind of normal way where you have like a have a picture of yourself, and then very soon she got harassed because being a girl and a gamer is not that easy. People often think like, "What are you doing here? Oh, just kiss me, and you should go to the kitchen." All those kinds of stuff. So then after a while, she discovered instead of stopping to game, she decided to make a new character name and then make a new profile. And then this time she wouldn't use her picture, and she would only write. She wouldn't use her voice because in some games you use your voice, some games you don't. But the thing is, quite early in this book, she's part of a gaming team, and quite early in this book, there's kind of like an e-sport thingy happening where like they're gonna like meet in real life to like people can watch them while they play on the computers. So yeah, she's gonna be fine out, and yeah, so I'll say a lot of this book. Well, yeah, this book is about girls in gaming community and how it's not all that easy, but it's also about the other main character is, and I'm bugging out, Jake. He's also a big gamer, but he hides. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't hide his gaming from his family, but his family doesn't really understand it, and his parents are divorced. So I suppose the both the main characters are dealing with stuff at their own ends, and then yeah, they figure stuff out. There's also, I mean, there's a love story between these two people. There's also this great look into the world today in general all day, like the world as in like, yeah, being a woman in today's world, not all that easy. So yeah, it's definitely would say like a good feminist tone to this theme to this book, and yeah, but it's also very funny and very funny. Well, it is funny, and yeah, and definitely a book I would say check out, even if you're not like a huge computer gamer like I'm not. But I still very much enjoy this book, and I would still say you could still read it and maybe really relate it to other aspects of your your personality, and like yeah, it doesn't go deep into the gaming thingy, though it's an important thing. So yeah, so this one let's definitely say if you want a YA contemporary read with romance in it and with feminism aspects to it, definitely check out this one. And then we have Feather and Flame by yeah, for some reason like the author isn't on the cover of this one. It's just so weird. The author is Olivia Blackburn. So this is part of the Queen's Council series, where so Disney they in addition to like having a lot of stuff, they also have like a publishing company where they publish stories, and they have like at least one YA YA series where they have like it's called the Queen's Council, where they have authors write stories for the main characters and what happened after the story, after the movie. And all of these books are kind of a bit more historical based than the movies are. And yeah, I very much love this one. And this one, Mulan, as you might have guessed from the cover, this is about Mulan. In this one, Mulan becomes an emperor or empress, and yeah, so there's political intrigue in this one and stuff like that. And I was like, Mushu is actually not in this book, so it's kind of sad that wasn't included. But still, he had lots of good aspects to the story, and yeah, very much enjoyed this. Definitely a good 5-star read. And then we have Amari and the Greater Game, and a great game. Why did I say greater? Well, it was great, similar, but yeah. Second book in the Amari series. I believe it's Amari trilogy, though I might be wrong there, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, it's the second book anyway so far. And yeah, I've read it a few months ago, and I very much enjoyed it. I mean, it kind of that's why I would say we kind of need to do like in a sequel, or like you should do a sequel in a series. You should expand the world, and you should get to know the characters more. You should build on the first book, but you should also have like a good story in itself, and it does all that, and it's just very good. I mean, I love the first one, and I love this one as well. And I suppose I'm not really going to go that much into the storyline of this book because it's second in the series. I suppose it's not like you can't, because I mean it does have a summary, but you can also just read the summary yourself online, or just believe me that you have to read the series. It's just amazing. And yeah, Amari and a Great Game, very great read. And then we have the Ministry of Unladylike Activity. So this is the first in the series. So it's a spin-off of um, uh, the other series, which is called Murder Most Unladylike. So in that series, you had um, teens or preteens solving murders in the pre-Second World War Britain, or also the world, because some of them weren't set in Britain. In this one, it's murders, yes, but there's also spy aspect to it. There's also like the main characters are spies, um as well as I'm looking at my words now, as well as detectives. So yeah, and also it's kind of interesting because the other series they kind of have like a thing where like they had like book one and then book two, so it like had several chapter ones, and then in this series it's not like there's chapter one and then chapter two and then kind of goes on from there. So yeah, just so you know that. It has representation both ethnically and also uh, uh, neurodiversity, because one of the main characters has autism. And yeah, I'll say just a very good book if you're into crime. It's written for like teens, preteens, but like if you just like a good crime story, check out this book. Definitely for you, Wednesday. And then we have a Nick Blake and the Remarkables, a Manifesto Prophecy. So this is the first in a trilogy written by Angie Thomas. Yes, Angie Thomas of the Hate to Give has started to write fantasy. So this, as you might have guessed, is a middle grade fantasy. It's urban fantasy, urban fantasy. Yeah, that's what I was meant to say. Yeah, so it's set in our world, but it's also like magical cities. But it's not a completely different world. It's set in New Orleans and like known cities, but also magical cities. And yeah, I just love the world building in this one. I mean, you both have like a main villain, but you also have like small villains who are like I mean, all the villains are just so scary, and threatening, and which, I mean, kind of want a villain to be scary, but also the storyline in itself, the world in itself, the humor, the characters. I would say like this is one of those times where I feel like I don't have a complaint about this story at all. It's just amazing. I have no complaints, and I feel like this is a book everyone needs to read. It is amazing. People need to. If you haven't read this one, check it out. Like you still have like, I suppose not you have to read before end of year, but like yeah, if you're looking for a middle grade book to read before the end of the year or just to read whenever, check out this book. And then we have Loki. Let me just check what it's called again in English because it has a name. Obvious. A Bad God's Guide to Being Good. So this, as you can see, is the Norwegian version. It's the first in a, I don't know, it's a trilogy. What it is? Anyway, it's a series because the second one it's coming out, has come out, is coming out soon. So yeah, it's based around, as you might have guessed, Loki, the Norse god or the Norse. It's not really a god. He's not like a Norse. He's Norse elf. But yeah, I mean, he was adopted by Odin and all that kind of stuff. Known from Marvel, but also like from Norse mythology in general. So it's a middle grade story. And yeah, so sorry. Concept of this one is that Loki, I mean, as he does, he always does pranks and different mean stuff. And then one day, Odin's like, you know, Loki, you've gone too far. So he makes him into a 11-year-old and makes him move to England to kind of like be better, do good, and do good deeds. And until he's done like a big amount of good deeds, he can't go back to Valhalla and his Norse home. And it's a book where like it's written in diary form, but it's also like a lot of pictures, and it's a book where like the diary talks to the author, which is Loki, and it's just amazing. It's very very funny, I would say. Also, yeah, I suppose the concept itself, it's not like gods being turned to humans. It's not like an amazingly original stuff, but I would say it's kind of I would say also the book is it's more original because you have a lot of books out there where you have like main characters being demigods. But I kind of like it where you do the other way around, where you have gods become human. It's it's a bit of fun like take on the whole god in our world storyline. And love this book, and very excited to read the second book. Then we have Out of the Blue by Jason June. So this is Jason June's mermaid story, as you can see. Well, mer person story, mer person story. So the mer people, they don't really talk about gender. It's more like more fluid and stuff. Um, and Crest, who's this character, they use they them pronouns, and they're a mer person, not a mer man. Um, and also it's just a very good story about mer people, but also like about, I would say, also kind of about humans and about growing up. And it takes place in LA, so it takes place by the beach. They kind of use the beach a lot, and it's just, I would say, it's a very summery book, but it's also yeah it's just a very very good book. I would say also again, I would say it's one of those books that's kind of like I don't really have a complaint about it at all. Like I suppose the end took me a bit by surprise. Like now, quite a few weeks after I finished it, I would say like the end, it's not a bad end. I didn't like very much expect it, which I suppose it's good to be surprised by the ends. Like sometimes you want an end to go the way you want it, but yeah, it took me by surprise, but it's still a good end. And yeah, very, very good book. Definitely check it out. And then we have The Fiancé Farce by Alexandra Belthor. So I listened to this one on audio, as I do with a lot of her books. But yeah, I decided to also have the book on physical format because it's a beautiful cover. And also it's just an amazing story. So, I mean, amazing books, you want more than one edition, don't you? At least I do. So yeah. So the Fianc first, in case you don't know what it's about. It's a marriage of convenience, but set in Monday, which is like, can you have marriage of convenience in Monday? Like, isn't that very much historical trope? Well, yes, you can. Like in this one, it works very well. Like, well, first of all, it's like, how's that gonna work? But then when you read it and when you kind of understand the story, it's like, yes, it does work. Because I suppose it is like, as always, like marriage of convenience. They both need like something from the other person, and they have to be married to get that thing. But of course, there's love quite early on, and yeah, it's amazing, amazing story. You need to check it out. It is fluffy, but it's also real and raw. It is all the things. And as a lot of other books in this video, it's one of those books where I have no complaints. It's amazing as it is. It's amazing book, and it's a book everyone needs to check out. At least I feel so. You need to read this book. Your life is not complete if you don't read this book. You have to read this book. So yeah, yes, that's how much I love that book. And then we have A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. So I started this by reading it, the book, and then I finished an audiobook because I kind of felt like it. But yeah, do it on audiobook or read it as a like story, both ways. Yeah, I mean, then the audiobook is very good because the narration is very good, but also like the story in itself, it's amazing. I mean, the war in this, like the weapon is in this one is cookie dough. So like, how's that gonna be threatening? But yeah, it kind of is, and I just love how that's. I mean, you never seen it. Never. I mean, have you ever seen cookie dough being used as a weapon? No, I'm pretty sure you have not, or at least very very seldom. And also like this universe is also quite nice. And I've heard people talk about this, describe this one as cozy fantasy. I'm not sure I'm gonna say it's cozy because I feel like the villain in this one is just creepy, and I feel like in cozy fantasy you can't have that creepiness. Like it should be much more slice of life story than like a creepy villain like this book has. But yeah, so there's that. But still, the world building, the characters, the storyline, it has humor. It has, well, it doesn't actually have romance in it, I would say, but it's still like not every book needs a romance. And yeah, I suppose if you're in mood for a book with no romance, check out this book. Then we have The Cassandra Complex by Holly Smale. Already did, well, I suppose a few of these books I will talk about in other videos, but yeah, I have a separate video for this book if you want to check out like more details on this book. But in short, this book, it's slightly like Groundhog Day, but not completely. But like okay, so there's like a time travel aspect to it, but it's set in Monday, so it's a Monday fantasy story. Though it's not like one of those books where you have lots of fantasy elements in a Monday element in a Monday story. It's just time travel thing that's yeah happening. And also the main character has autism, though she doesn't really spoiler alert, yeah spoiler alert, but small. She doesn't really discover herself until the end of the book, but you kind of, I suppose you kind of can't see like have from the beginning that she has some issues. But yeah, it's a very good book. It's a book about family, about life, about choices. It's a very funny book. It's a very real book. Yeah, it's just an amazing read. I feel like everyone should check out. And then we have, sorry, The Ultimate Book of Heroic Failures, one of few non-fiction books on this list, on this video. But yeah, talk about this again also before, but it kind of needs to be highlighted whenever I can because it's amazing, amazing read. But it's just all these kind of anecdotes about things that have actually happened. You might feel like, how is this possible? But yeah, sometimes life is stranger than fiction. And yeah, so if you want a book that you kind of can pick up and put down, a book that's gonna make you laugh, gonna make you be baffled about the world, check out this book. It's yeah, it's astounding how amazing stupid people can be and how weird the world can be, and yeah, it's very, very, very good book. And then after that, we have some books that I have from the library and stuff. So I'm gonna just find my notes on that. So, so this is actually a book I just finished on audio. It's The Clockwork Spiral by Catherine Woodfine. It's the first in the Sinclair mysteries. So this is a middle grade set in 1910s, so before the First World War. Which, yeah, often you have like books set before the Second World War or books set during it. This before the First World War, which, yeah, kind of like that change of things. So in the setting, you still have horses are very important. Like you don't really have that many cars, but you have horses and and yeah, I mean horses used to carry things around and all that kind of, like, what's the word again for like horse rides? Not horse rides. Horse carriages. Carriages. Yeah, carriages being used, and yeah. So it's set actually in like in kind of, I would say, in a way mall in London, because it's like it's one store, but it's one store that sells a lot of stuff. So I would say, yeah, it's set in one mall, more like it's called Sinclair's, but like I would say, yeah, it's not one store. They have lots of different stores, things in one store. Um, but yeah, and like you have several point of views. You have Billy, who's a nephew of one of the people who work there, and he's a 12-year-old who loves mysteries and crime, and he wants to kind of to be a detective himself. And then you have, yeah, I mean, I just finished this a few days ago, and still, as you do, I forgot about the characters' names. But yeah, you have Joe, who used to be a member of gang because of circumstance. Uh, so I suppose he knows how to pick locks and stuff, but he has a heart of gold. And then you have Alone, Lori, Lil. You have Lil, short for Lillian, and she both works with as a model for like the different hats, but she also works as a actress in the Hollywood, in the London stage world. And then you also have the main character who meets, well, main character. You have the character who meet first, which, well, like me, I can't remember her name, but yeah. So her dad used to be, well, her dad was in the military, and then just a few weeks before the book starts, her dad dies, and the villain, the testament isn't really good, so she has to like, her house is sold, and she has to go out in the world and get a job. But like, I suppose because until now she's like had it pretty good, like she hasn't had it that bad, so like she hasn't, until now she's been um taught by her nanny and stuff, so she knows some stuff, but she doesn't really know stuff that can be used for jobs. But luckily, she ends up getting a job at this mall, and then, yeah, pretty soon things happen. And yeah, if you like middle grade mysteries set during the First World War, or to that start up to that one, I would say check it out. Wow, sorry. It's also like there's actually also like, first it's a trilogy, and then there's a spin-off series where it's just more spy based, which, yeah, definitely for that, because yeah, I want to read more spy books. And yeah, The Clockwork Spiral by Catherine Woodfine, a book that I highly recommend. I listened to the audiobook. I loved it as an audiobook. It was probably gonna be fun, also nice to read it, but yeah, very good. And then we have Reggie and Delilah's Year of Falling by Elise Bryant. So this is the third in her Happily Ever After's companion universe series. It's a YA romance, and it's also its dual point of view, which I feel like, I suppose, quite a lot of romances are that nowadays. Not all of them, but like, I suppose for me, I kind of need the romances to be dual point of view nowadays, because if they're not, it kind of feels like it lacks something. But yeah, anywho, Reggie and Delilah, they're quite similar in some ways, different in some ways, and yeah, it's a story where you meet them throughout the year on holidays because that's kind of how it happens. That was kind of like Hallmark-y, but like done in a good way, better way. And yeah, I love like the first two books in this series. Love this one as well very much, and yeah, definitely recommend it. Then we have Riley Weaver needs a date to Gabuton's ball, also by Jason June. Yes, Jason June has become a new favorite author of mine. I listened to this one on audiobook, so that's why I don't have it as a physical copy. As was said before, this is like a cheat sheet for like the books I had from library. Some from library, some from audiobooks. But yeah. So Riley Weaver, he lives in well, yeah, he lives in a small town in the U.S., but it's a small town that's close to Seattle. Yeah, I think it's pretty close to Seattle, and because of reasons in this close town. Moment. Yes, reasons in this small town, it kind of has like a lot of gay people that come prominent in the town. Like it has a bar that's like bar. It has a cafe that's owned by a lesbian woman, and she's kind of like does a lot of things for the gay community. There's lots of yeah, it's kind of I suppose in a way it's quite accepted to be gay and also different in that town. And there's also like a kind of society for gay people in the high school. Kind of also, yeah, it's kind of like a big thing. And so the main character decides to make a podcast because of things. Because yeah, you know what? But tired, so I'm not gonna go deep into things. But yeah, and it's a great book that kind of looks at gender roles, society roles, how people expect you to be, and how you are, and yeah, just a very good book. Highly recommend it. And then we have what is the next book that I have loved this year? Yes, The Smoothness Bones by Brandon Sanderson. So this is the second book in the Alcatraz vs. Evil Librarians series. Yes, that is the series name. It's a middle grade series, as you might have guessed, and it's I would say it's a very good book to like listen to an audiobook. Though I suppose the second book I listened to an audiobook, the first book I read. But yeah, I suppose in both ways, I mean they're enjoyable. But like I suppose the narrator is kind of like he jumps around. He's a bit unreliable. He says things that aren't true and stuff. And yeah, the narrator is very good. But also the story in itself is just very good. It's yet another urban fantasy story where you have our world, but you have also like different worlds, kind of like parallel worlds, and yeah, it's just a great world building, but also great villains, great characters. Like another story where like everything is great, and yeah, it's a middle grade, but I mean, yeah, I'm not a middle grade age myself, but like there's nothing saying they can't enjoy middle grade story if you're about that age. So yeah, if you're into a great world and a very funny story and stuff like that, check out this series. You need to check out. It's just amazing, amazing. And then we have Jamie by L.D. Lapinski. And this one I did get from the library, so I have returned it. It's a standalone, and it's all about Jamie, who's 12, non-binary, and that they have to start like soon. They're going to a middle school. Well, yeah, middle school. So like in a lot of places in the world, you have first you have primary, then you have middle school, then high school. So yeah, they're going to a new school, and but the thing is, in their town, there's just two middle schools, one for uh, one for girls and one for boys. And Jamie is neither. They're non-binary. They're not neither one or the other. So thinking like, what should I do? Which school should I go to? So it's a book about protesting. It's a book about being yourself. It's a book about uh, being different and fighting for people want to be different and are different. And yeah, it's a very good book. Well, I'd say like for me, like as Norwegian, I felt like yeah, this feels like a very English book, I suppose maybe a very American book, because like in Norway, yes, I mean you kind of have the same thing where you have primary, middle school, and then high schools. Like you go to school for 7 years, then you have go 3 years, and then last 3 years. But none of those schools are gender based, or like I suppose I think I'm not gonna say that there are no gender based schools in Norway, but I don't think that they're not really quite that common. Like most towns in Norway have like one public school, or like one public school close to the town where, and yeah, all public schools are for all genders. So this book kind of felt like I like it. Like I suppose you could have translated it, but like it, yeah, felt like very much like a English issue, but it still felt, I suppose you could still like understand it for like the idea behind it. But like I was just thinking like, can't you just start a school where there's no genders in the school rules? Like, what's the issue here? I understand the issue, but like also like yeah, also like why do you have gender different schools? I think that's kind of weird. And also like the thing is also like they went to a school for their first 7 years with friends of different genders, but then for middle school they had to like choose, because then the schools were gendered. And I'm like, why do you do this? I suppose if you're British and you're watching this, please tell me like what's the dealio where you have gendered schools? I think it's weird, but yeah. Anywho, it's good story. So yeah, I'll say for me, as I've read quite a lot of queer reads my life in like last 5-10 years. So I love like every now and then the book kind of talks about different queer aspects. It talked about how before it used to be illegal to be gay and blah blah blah. So a lot of those kind of stuff I knew, but like it was still like a very good story in itself. So I suppose yeah, if you read a lot of queer stories, if you haven't, this is a good place to start or a good place to continue. And yeah, very good book. Oh no. And then we have at Contemporary Assets at the Court of Henry VIII by Mary Janice Davidson. I listened to this as an audiobook. Very good audiobook. It came out in 2020, and I kind of saw that it hasn't really gotten, kind of doesn't really look to be like still published, which is kind of sad. I suppose you could maybe, if you don't like audiobooks, you could probably find it. You could probably find it used, but yeah, as an audiobook, it was just very, very good. And it's also kind of funny, like, because it's a time travel story, but it's not like, because I would say in a way, like, I love time travel stories. It's written for YA audience or middle range audience, and then it's of like save the world or like time travel romance, or you have like an adult time travel when it's often yeah, it's almost always like time travel romance. This there's romance in it, but it's not the A plot, so I wouldn't really say it's a romance story. And yeah, it's not really a save the world story either. Really like it's kind of like save these people story, but it's not like save the whole world. Which yeah, me like having read like fantasy for like half my life, I kind of enjoy when stories aren't based around like saving this family or saving this town or saving the world, but it's just like micro level, like saving some people. Like yeah, you need stakes, but it's kind of fun when stakes aren't huge. And yeah, a contemporary asset at the court of Henry VIII. Definitely a different time travel story than a lot of other stories. Different story in general than a lot of other stories. And yeah, a story I highly recommend. And then we have A Tale of Two Princes by Eric Garon. This one I have another video by, so you can check out that one if you want to check out. It came out this year, so yeah, it's one of the yeah, it's one of the few books that came out this year. Not all of these books came out this year, but some did. This one did. It's a book set in a alternative contemporary world where Canada has what's the word again? Has a royal family, or like like has like own royal house. So like the royals there are like just the one of the princes from the UK royal family, but still. So that's kind of a fun like tweak on the world. Uh, and also it's a version of the Prince and the Pauper, where the two main characters they're twins, and well, I suppose in the Prince and Pauper, so they're not twins, but yeah, in this story they're twins, but they were separated at birth because of reasons, and then they get then they kind of meet each other through happenstance, and of course they both kind of have to be princes now, and they're just not just one of them, and there's drama, there's jealousy, there's love stories. It has, yeah, pretty much everything you need in a good story. And yeah, highly recommend it. Sorry. And then we have another nonfiction story. This one was also another, or yeah, another library read. So I don't have it here at all. I don't actually think it's, yeah, in publishment. I don't think it's published anymore, but you can probably also get it used. Sorry. It's Null Points by Tim Moore. So the base of this story is this story. This book is that he goes through everyone, or not everyone, but like a lot of people who got 0 points in Eurovision, and kind of interviews them and kind of like talks to them like how did it affect you and whatnot. So I suppose it is a non-fiction story about Eurovision, but it's also a non-fiction story about tackling uh, tackling failure, and how you tackle failure, and how you tackle when things don't go the way you want. And yeah, it's quite a good read, quite a good read, a very good read. And yeah, don't say check it out if you're a Eurovision fan. Check it out if you like stories about people, because the people that he introduced in this one is they're quite different, all of them. And yeah, definitely a book I would highly recommend. Sorry. And then we have Pennyroyal Academy by Emma Larson. I talked about this one in the video before as well. But yeah, it's a first in a trilogy. It's, I would say, it's kind of similar to like the School for Good and Evil. They have like, it's a world of fairy tales, but like the main characters aren't of the, like, they're not like, you don't meet Cinderella. Is not a main character, but like Cinderella is in this universe. And so there's dragons, there's witches, and there's danger, and it's a middleweight story, and it's a great universe, and yeah, I love this first book. I had some issues with it, but I did very much love it. It was still like a 5 star because yeah, most of the book I absolutely loved, no doubt about it. Sorry. And then we have the Treehouse Library by Anna James. This is the 5th book in the Pages and Co series, which is another middle grade series. In this one, sorry, in this one, the main character, she can travel into stories, like into books by reading them, so kind of like Inkheart-ish. And this is the 5th book in this universe on this series. So it's also the next last one, which is quite sad. It's a book that it kind of expanded the world, but also like the villain is kind of like what? The villain in this one is quite creepy, and but also the end has a cliffhanger. So just be aware of that. I mean, if you like want to start this series, maybe I suppose you could start it this year because the last book is coming up in the fall, in August soon. Like this book came out last year, but I didn't read it before this year. And yeah, very very good book and series. Check it out. And yeah, and that is all the books so far that I have absolutely loved that are 5 star reads. And yeah, if you want to talk about any of the reads that I talked about, if you agree, if you disagree, if you have other books that you read yourself this year that you loved and you want to share them here, do that in the comments. And I'll see you soon. Bye.